And so we go on to understand, as I said, that with our current understanding of molecular biology, cellular biology, that the cell itself has turned out to be really one of the marvels of nanoengineering in the entire universe. And so again, for the atheist to say that non-life produced life, it is simply a scientifically untenable position to take. We then move on to the third miracle of atheism. Not only does atheism fail metaphysically because it claims that nothing produced everything, not only does it fail scientifically because it says that non-life produced life, it goes on to fail informationally because it says that chaos produced the incredible order, fine-tuning, and design that we see in the world today. This is the third miracle of atheism, that chaos produces order. This is something that we do not see happening in the world around us. Our common experience tells us that this does not happen in everyday life, but also information science tells us this. We know that information, that the intelligent arrangement of letters, concepts, ideas, which produces information, can only originate from a mind, from an intelligence, from an engineer. But yet atheists want to believe in this third miracle, that chaos and chance produces incredible order and fine-tuning and design. Of course, as we were speaking about the cell, the definitive nail in the coffin to this type of thinking would of course be the DNA molecule itself. The hardware of the DNA molecule is impressive, but what really defeats this aspect of atheism is, as you look at the information content of the DNA molecule, it is a staggering system of a genetic language. It is not like a language, it literally is a language. This third miracle of atheism, where supposedly chance or chaos or randomness produces incredible order, design, and information, it really falls to the ground as we examine the DNA molecule. The four nucleotide bases, A, C, T, and G, adenosine, cytosine, thymine, and guanine, which make up the DNA molecule, they're combined in pairs, 3 billion pairs that make up the DNA molecule. And to imagine that this genetic language, 3 billion pairs in length, could come about by random accidental processes is worse than imagining that a monkey smashing a typewriter 3 billion times could write a book of that proper length. Imagine that a monkey smashing a typewriter blindfolded could compose a book 3 billion characters in length of proper language, or perhaps of throwing 3 billion Scrabble letters in the air, having all 3 billion letters come down in exactly the right form. This is an absurd scientific position to hold. This entire molecule is basically the genetic blueprint for every structure of every biological living creature on planet Earth today. Atheism claims in this third miracle that chaos and randomness and chance produced all the incredible information and order that we see, not only biologically in the DNA molecule, but also in the fine-tuning of the laws of physics. As we've covered in various programs, the laws of physics are themselves fine-tuned on a razor's edge for the existence of life. For example, the force of gravity, also known as the gravitational force, is fine-tuned to 1 part in 10 with 40 zeros behind it. This number is absolutely gigantic. Imagine 1 with 40 zeros behind it. This is 1 chance in 10,000 billion, 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 billion. That is the level of fine-tuning of the gravitational force. This incredible order, this incredible fine-tuning and precision of the force of gravity, it is illogical and irrational to assume that it came from chaos or from chance. The expansion rate of the universe is also finely tuned upon a razor's degree for life to be possible. The speed of the expansion of the universe, known as the cosmological constant, is fine-tuned to 1 part in 100 million, billion, 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 billion. 1 followed by 53 zeros. That's how finely tuned the expansion rate of the universe is. And then finally, the strong nuclear force, the force that holds protons and neutrons together in the nucleus of the atom, is finely tuned down to 1 chance out of 1 followed by 31 zeros behind it. 1 part in 10,000 billion, 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 billion. Now, just considering these 3 forces alone, the gravitational force, expansion speed of the universe, and the strong nuclear force, this is an incredible amount of order and fine-tuning, and to think that such information came out randomly and chaotically really is blind faith of the atheist. Well, as I said, it's worse than magic. So we see that atheism fails metaphysically because they believe that nothing produced everything. It fails scientifically because non-life supposedly produced all of biological life. It also fails informationally because chaos supposedly produced the incredible order and information that we see at the biological level inside of DNA, but also at the cosmic level in the constants of physics and nature. But it goes on to fail philosophically because atheism goes on to claim a fourth miracle, that material objects produce immaterial realities. That the material objects in the world produce immaterial conceptual realities. Now, when I use this word immaterial or conceptual realities, what I'm speaking of are ideas, concepts, or truths that we all believe to be real, that we all believe to actually exist, but they're not physical in nature. Things like the laws of logic, or objective morality, right and wrong. These kinds of aspects of our universe, of our reality, they do indeed exist, but they are not physical or material in nature. They are immaterial, conceptual ideas and truths. But yet, in this fourth miracle of atheism, supposedly they want us to believe that material objects can give rise to love, that material objects can give rise to immaterial truths like justice. How could ever a material substance, a purely material thing, ever invent or create an immaterial reality? How could, for example, a rock have a thought? How could a rock somehow create beauty? If all that human beings are is just a collection of random atoms colliding and recombining with each other, how would it be possible for us as just material creatures to produce an immaterial reality such as love or justice? If all human beings are is material, how could we produce logic? How could we produce mathematics or numbers? These are conceptual ideas. And the immaterial can never come from the purely material. That is a philosophical error. There is no evidence to support this conclusion. But again, the atheist is forced into a corner to believe this fourth miracle of atheism, that the material can produce the immaterial. So again, atheism fails in this fourth area philosophically. But lastly and finally, atheism fails in a magnificent way logically. It fails metaphysically because it claims that nothingness produced everything. It fails scientifically because supposedly non-life produced all life. It fails informationally because it says that chaos and randomness produces the incredible order and fine-tuning we see in the DNA molecule and in the universe at large. And it fails philosophically because supposedly the material has given rise to the immaterial. But lastly, it fails logically because atheism claims that non-consciousness can produce consciousness. This is the fifth and final miracle of atheism, that non-consciousness, a lack, a non-existence of consciousness, somehow, some way, gives rise to consciousness. Now again, this is very, very similar to the metaphysical mistake that atheists made where nothingness produced somethingness. This is a clear violation of the laws of logic and the laws of reality. But again, logically, to say that non-consciousness gave rise to consciousness is simply a self-contradictory, self-defeating statement. It's a logically absurd thing to imagine. And the reason we can say it's logically absurd is because, again, the atheist is here trying to get something from nothing. There is no consciousness, but yet it produces consciousness. There is a lack of this mental state, but it somehow magically produces a mental state. The atheist, again, is trying to get something out of nothing. He's trying to say that no consciousness produces consciousness. In other words, how could a rock give rise to consciousness? How could a pile of dirt give rise to thoughts? If we understand consciousness as the ability to have self-awareness, to have mental states, to have mental reflection, to be able to think that I exist, how could a rock give rise to something such as that? How could the material, non-conscious objects in the world ever give rise to consciousness? Have we ever observed this happening? Do we see this happening in our universe? No, we do not. We see that consciousness gives rise to other consciousness. We do see that. So according to a purely scientific observation of our world and reality, we would have to say that logically, it only makes sense from observational science to say that only consciousness can give rise to further consciousness. For example, when a mother gives birth to a child, the conscious life of the mother somehow creates conscious life in her child. But to believe that non-consciousness can give rise to consciousness, self-awareness, to a mind, to a being that can have concepts about themselves, again, this is illogical, it's self-contradictory, and self-defeating. And in this fifth way, atheism fails in a quite glorious and magnificent way. It fails logically. So again, atheism, taken as a perspective, taken as a worldview, it really does fall quite short of what is necessary to explain the features of our universe. It really does seem that one of the most illogical, irrational, and nonsensical perspectives that you can take upon reality is the perspective, the worldview of atheism. It is full of logical contradictions and intellectual absurdities. It fails metaphysically because it claims that nothingness produced everything. It fails scientifically because it claims that non-life gave rise to first life. It fails, number 3, informationally because it claims a third miracle, that chaos produced all the amazing order and engineering and fine-tuning that we do witness in the laws of physics and in DNA information. It fails philosophically, number 4, because it claims another miracle, that the material gave rise to immaterial concepts, ideas, and truths that we all believe do exist in reality, that the material gave rise to the immaterial. And finally, it fails logically because atheism claims a fifth miracle, that non-consciousness can give rise to consciousness. This is a self-contradictory, logically absurd thing to believe. We never observe this happening, and logically, it's purely nonsensical. And so for these and many other reasons, those who are truly seeking after reality and after truth should abandon atheism because it truly is, as we've said, a problematic perspective. In terms of a worldview, atheism is full of problems. It is essentially like intellectual Swiss cheese, lots of problems, lots of internal contradictions, and it really should be abandoned. It's because of these reasons, these 5 miracles of atheism, these completely nonsensical, absurd ideas about reality, that many Christian thinkers rightly say, I simply don't have enough blind faith to be an atheist. Well, that's all the time we have for our program today. I do encourage you to join us again in the future as we continue to examine other problematic perspectives. I do encourage you to go by our website, intelligentfaith315.com, and there you can find hundreds of articles, videos, and resources to further equip you and train you in the excellent evidence that exists for the Christian worldview and faith. Go over to iTunes and download the Intelligent Faith radio podcast. And don't forget to swing by YouTube and check out the Intelligent Faith 315 YouTube channel, and you can have all of our video content at one glance for you. We hope you'll come back and join us in the future on Intelligent Faith, where we're teaching thinkers to believe and believers to think.